Well, for more on relations between China and the EU, let's go to Remi Piet. He's the senior partner at Embellie Advisory. Welcome back, Remi.
It's a pleasure.
So, Chinese President Xi Jinping this week told German Chancellor Angela Merkel he saw various challenges in Sino-EU ties. What do you read into that?
Well, it's a statement that actually follows the ongoing situation of a surge of tension between China and the European Union, which was actually the relation that actually deepened with the negotiation on this joint investment deal. But following a series of sanctions on both sides, obviously these challenges have arisen, and it's actually very important to look at what is at stake here. I mean, clearly the European Union could be a very strong partner for China. It's actually the terms of trade are very much favorable to China, and it has nothing to win from a tension with the European Union. And therefore, the next steps are going to be very important to look at, what will arise with, especially, Angela Merkel stepping down in Germany, and she has always been a very strong ally of China in Europe. So the next few months are actually very important to look at in terms of understanding what will be the next step for the Chinese-European relations, and especially the potential on the economic front.
Right, and so you actually brought up that China-EU investment pact. What's the prognosis of that deal? Because it seems shelved right now.
Well, that's the idea here is that, I mean, the negotiation that led to an agreement in principle on the basis for, what would be the reciprocity and the capacity for increasing investment between the two regions. It was very interesting both from the European side and the Chinese side, but then it has to go through a series of ratification process inside the European Union, especially in terms of, at the level of the European Parliament. And right now, because of the sanctions that were stricken on both sides, the European Parliament will not actually look at this investment deal until the situation is solved. And again, it's here in terms of the potential that we're seeing both for Chinese companies and European companies in terms of trade, in terms of investment, the capacities for having a strong surge in terms of joint wealth on both sides is there. And if we were to see increase in tensions and more the European Union siding with the US, while China is kind of aligning maybe with other actors such as Russia, I'm not sure this is really in the best interest of neither China and the European Union, because there's a clear complementarity in terms of economics, and also some elements in terms of looking at climate change, looking at a series of reforms that are needed at the multilateral level. There could have been like a very strong basis for joint talks on all those fronts between the European Union and China. But here, again, China has to understand the European Union is based on a series of norms and ideas and principle, and the ongoing sanctions are the reflection of this. And the retaliation that we're seeing also on Chinese side is going to worsen relations between the two blocs. You don't work with the European Union the way that you were working with the Trump administration by escalating sanctions. The system here in the European Union is very different.
I need to circle back to Washington, the third party in this relationship. How does the EU balance its ties with both the US and with China?
So, I mean, here there's obviously historical relationship in terms of security, specifically between the European Union and the US. The US has always been a traditional partner in terms of trade, but the real potential for increase here is with China and Asia. And again, on the Chinese perspective, the European Union makes a lot of sense in terms of trade, in terms of compatibility of investments and companies. So here the big question is try to see, what are the next steps? Will there be a capacity to sway the European Union away from an alignment with the US to benefit in terms of economic developments, but that will come at a political cost of moving away from those sanctions and maybe accepting a dialogue on other issues that China is shying away of in terms of international discussion and under the principle of no interference into domestic affairs. But again, here there's from the European standpoint, there will be a traditional alliance with the United States, but everyone will be interested in looking at ways to move forward in terms of those relations with China because of the interest that it has on a series of other fronts.
And very quickly, you talk about moving forward. I mean, we're also seeing, when it comes to China and the EU, new areas of opportunities. China's central bank is cooperating with the EU on green investment standards. Are all these a good sign?
Well, it is obviously, and as I say, green finance and climate change mitigation policies and others, and all these are areas that would be, very interesting to work on, and where you can see a series of alignment on policies, or at least vision towards how to tackle this on the multilateral front. But the question, nothing will happen in terms of moving forward on those issues until we solve the current tension, the sanctions on both sides, especially sanctions on European parliamentary members. That's obviously going to be jamming the process of deepening relationships. There's been a series of incidents also with the Chinese embassies in Paris and some comments that were derogatory from the ambassador and other similar incidents between nations. Here again, the capacity and the interest in terms of long-term perspective, both in terms of climate change mitigation, joint investment and trade, would legitimate the fact that both sides actually takes a deep breath and understand that the questions are at stake here are important to tackle. There needs to be discussions on the series of fronts, understanding the principle of non-interference in domestic affairs, but understanding also the normative balance and values that the European Union is based on. And there will be no move forward until those issues of quarrels actually solved. The potential is there, but there needs to be additional ties and understanding on both sides.